Welcome back, everyone. Well, we're very excited to have some students from John Bapst High School joining us today. They're getting ready to put on a very interesting play, one that really has captured my imagination. You might have heard about the Raidum Girls. We've talked about them on the show before, and they're doing a whole play about it that's coming up, and we thought we'd share it with you. Joining us today, we have Raina Kim down here on the end, Ada Sinclair, and Catherine Karen. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
First of all, before we get underway, let's talk about the Raidum Girls. Who were the Raidum Girls?
So the Raidum Girls were basically a group of around 100 workers in a factory in New Jersey who used radioactive, although they didn't know it was radioactive at the time, radium paint to paint luminous watches for soldiers to use during World War I, so they glow in the dark.
They kind of learned over time that, yeah, not only for pilots and soldiers, it kind of spread around the world there, but again, they didn't know that it was radioactive. And I think we have some photos of the actual Raidum Girls from one of those factories too. So they spent hours after hours with a simple paintbrush trying to paint this special paint onto the hands of watches. And what happened as a result of that?
So basically, since the paint was radioactive, they developed terrible radioactive radium poisoning. So their jaws would decay from the inside of their mouths, feet and back conditions, and eventually they died. Most
of them died as a result. Doesn't sound like a very fun thing to do a play about, but tell us about the play that you're doing. This is kind of, it's been done before and has received a lot of recognition because of it too. Tell us about the play.
Yeah, so the play is obviously Raidum Girls. It features Madame Curie, who's the one who discovered radium, and it is about all of the Raidum Girls and how they were dial painters and how everyone was just getting sick. And it also talks about the people who were behind the scenes, the people who were not letting the Raidum Girls speak, the ones who just were kind of hiding what they were doing was wrong. Yeah. And so the play is all centered about that and about the history, and it's all based on a true story.
Because they told them that there was nothing wrong with this. You won't get sick by doing this. Just go ahead and do it, right? So what is your role in all this? You're one of the Raidum Girls.
Yes, my role, her name is Catherine Schwab, and we three are actually the Raidum Girls within the play. Yeah.
And over the course of it, do you guys become more sick and we learn more about the story, I guess? Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. All right, so when and where is this going to take place? Where, if people want to see this, where do they go?
So it's going to take place November 8th and 9th. It's Friday, Saturday at 7 p.m., right? 7 p.m. And it's going to be at the John Bapst Memorial High School, Sakara Auditorium.
And it's open to anybody that wants to come?
Yes.
All right, and if people want tickets, what do? Can they buy them ahead of time, or can they buy them at the door?
Yes, there's a whole website where you can select your seat.
But you can also buy them at the door.
And you can buy them at the door, too. This is a really interesting story in America's history. One of the things about it, too, we were talking before we went on that some of these people ended up filing a lawsuit, right?
Yes, especially my character, Grace Fryer, basically is the head of this lawsuit against the U.S. Radium Corporation and about her path for justice in the face of all these corporate men trying to say, this is wrong, you're just a young girl, you don't know, trying to keep her quiet.
But in the end, they ended up winning that case. Unfortunately, they spent some of the money they had to spend it on things like funerals and for health care costs. So.
Yes, and then they died like a few years after.
A lot of them died because of it. So a pretty interesting subject, a very serious subject that you guys are taking on. I want to check it out myself, so it's very interesting. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Hopefully we get a lot of people out there to watch this play, and it's coming up here pretty soon, so maybe that's something you want to think about. Thanks for joining us. We're going to send things back over to Devin now for another look at that weather forecast.